Hey, Bill, I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the road till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a sticker. She picture perfect, so I told him I'm a flicker.
I'm Yuri.
I'm Jacob.
And we're going for a drive. '20 Chevy Camaro
ZL1 1LE with launch control. What a handful. And if you like seeing cars like this on the road and on the track, consider subscribing, because the only reason we were able to take this to the track was because you guys got us to over 1 million subscribers. Thank you to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, and we'll get into all the track stuff later.
But first, horsepower torque.
650 horsepower, 650 pound-feet of torque from a 6.2-liter supercharged V8 straight from the Corvette Z06.
You want to hear it again?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So you can really hear that supercharger from inside the car.
Yes, and outside as well, only from the front.
And that exhaust.
Sounds incredible. One of the better sounding cars I've potentially ever heard.
Of all time. Like, this has spoiled me.
Yeah, we love the Hellcat Redeye. We loved everything about the Hellcat. This makes slightly less supercharger sound, but a lot better exhaust tone.
Yeah, probably one of the best American tones of all time. And maybe
whoa, that's pushing it.
The best tone of a car that you can buy under 100 grand Canadian.
Yeah, this is very good value.
So obviously with me behind the wheel, I want to start off talking about the looks, because this thing looks absolutely wild, especially the front end.
This thing looks mental from the front. There is so much going on. It's basically all vents. They're all functional. There's crazy dive planes on the side. It's wild.
It looks like a total road hazard to any pedestrian.
Oh yeah, totally. Like, I don't know how this is crash safety approved, but I also don't care.
Okay, up at the front, we also have the Chevy bow tie that is hollow for more intake air, I guess.
Yeah, it's gotta be. It's a cool performance touch.
We've got the cool headlights. We've got the old style front end, because it's not the new style that everybody apparently hated, which I didn't fully dislike, but this definitely looks better.
Yeah, this looks way better. I prefer these headlights to that disgusting refresh.
And now we've got this cool carbon fiber part in the hood.
Yeah, this is part of the 1LE package, so it's carbon fiber insert on a matte black wrap.
It looks really aggressive, and when we pop the hood, we see that it's supercharged.
Yeah, and that's where you can see that this is exactly a Corvette engine. However, it's not a Corvette transmission, but we'll get to that later.
From the side view, we haven't really driven a Camaro since that first Transformers Camaro.
Yeah, we haven't really driven a Camaro, let's just say.
Yeah, okay, we haven't. I love the look of the Camaro. I love the body lines. It's so aggressive, it's so chiseled, and I think this is definitely the best one of the last 15 years?
Oh yeah, this is a really good looking car. It's a muscle car, like it's a sports muscle car.
And what do you think of these wheels?
I really like them, the concavity of them. I love how these wheels look.
I love how wide they are. They're like huge. When you see this thing rolling, like the width is insane of these wheels.
Yeah, they're 325s out back, which is absolutely massive.
And the front is huge too. And then we've got nice red 1LE brake calipers,
which are made by Brembo.
It just overall looks insane. It looks like this is 100% a track car, because it is 100% a track car.
Oh yeah, and let's talk about that track car rear wing, part of the 1LE package.
It looks so silly, but it looks totally efficient.
Yeah, it's all carbon fiber, and it does take up your entire rear visibility as well, and the visibility in here is also generally pretty bad.
But like, it's not the worst.
Okay, it's up there for near the worst.
Okay, yeah, but it's still livable.
Name a car that's worse.
McLaren's?
Okay, but like,
but I mean,
mid-engine.
All right, maybe it's the worst.
Thank you.
I don't mind. And then we've also got really cool taillights on the back here, and they're blacked out.
And looking at those real exhaust tips, they look so good. Chevy nailed it.
I love how they expand near the end of the tips, and I love how they're like drilled and have holes everywhere.
Yeah, like trumpets.
It's good, and it sounds really good. Should we?
Yeah. Let's play a clip. But too bad you can't rev it out.
Yeah, when you're in park, it just like stops at 4,000, like.
Yeah.
But maybe that's to save the engine. They know people who have that are just gonna abuse it.
And for the record, we also tried it in neutral.
So overall, looks-wise,
love it. Absolutely love it.
My first car was a Camaro. I've always loved Camaros. I definitely think this is better than most of the stuff they've put out, and I'm very happy with everything. I would like this in a brighter color if I tracked it, but an even darker color if I didn't track it.
Yeah, I think this is a car you get in black if you're gonna drive this on the streets.
So a little boot through cliche before I get you behind the wheel.
Ooh, man, drifty drift.
Okay, it wants to drift, but I'm gonna take it very easy because of all the track driving we've been doing.
Yeah, so we actually had the chance to go to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park with Ron Fellows and his son, Sam Fellows. So Ron Fellows runs the performance driving school at Spring Mountain near Las Vegas, where we drove the C8 Corvette.
And they also have the Ron Fellows driving experience at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park up here in Canada.
However, because now we have over 1 million subscribers, thank you all again, we were able to shut the track down for a private day just for us. And Sam Fellows took us around the track. We did a bunch of lead follow with him. We were able to actually put this through its real paces on the track, and it was absolutely amazing on the track.
We were flying. I felt like I was going so fast and it still had so much more to go. Like, this thing was so grippy, so planted, and I felt so confident in this. Nothing scary, a lot less scary than the C7 Corvette felt.
Really turn in, mid-track, left center.
I feel like I could be floored through here.
Yeah. A lot less scary, and I remember hitting 230 kilometers on the back straight, and I also remember hitting 265 kilometers on that same back straight in the GT2 RS.
So to sum up our experience on the track, if you needed a track-specific car that was super friggin' fast, this would probably be it.
Yeah, you basically have full confidence in the traction. We tried all the different traction modes, and it was incredible in all of them. It allows just enough wheel slip, not to scare you, but to actually just grip you through every single corner.
Except we didn't try fully off.
Well, that's what I said, all the traction modes, except off isn't really a mode.
I kind of is. And we had Sam do a few laps to show you how fast he can actually take this, and here's a few words from him about the Camaro.
About to do some laps of CTMP in the ZL1 1LE. This car is amazing, especially for this track. The price of this car and the performance capabilities are just nasty. The one thing I will say about it, and it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. It feels a little brutal because the CG is a little higher and you have that 650 horsepower. It feels a little, you know, you gotta hang on a little bit. But there's nothing wrong with that. Amazing on the brakes. I mean, I'm biased, but this car is so fantastic. Come on, baby. Amazing power, sounds awesome. You gobble up all types of imported cars with this thing on a track day. Woo! This gearbox too is just amazing. 10 gears, you only need 6 or 7 of them here at CTMP. This just makes you fall in love with driving this car on this track. It's like a perfect combination. They told me to just do 2 laps, but screw it, I'm doing a 3rd. I'm sending it, boys. Amazing. You can really feel the grip this car has. It's unbelievable. Just from that little bit amount of splitter on the front and that wing on the back and that those front scoops, they make such a big difference. You can feel it through those fast corners like 2. Anyone who says they can't feel it is a liar. Oh, wow. Just feel this thing set and then you're good to go. All right, I let it cool off here. But this thing is just so good, so fun, so comfortable too. I mean, you have to hang on because it's got that brutality from the horsepower, so you got to hold on. But these Recaro seats just make it so much more comfortable too. Man, I could do this all day. That's what you need after quarantine. A couple of those.
And for the record, he did tell us that it was only about 2 or 3 seconds slower than the previous gen Corvette Z06 around the track. Not a big difference for a much heavier car.
And Chevrolet did track prep this for us before giving us the car.
Yeah, so they changed the brake fluid, and they changed a bunch of stuff in the suspension because this does have adjustable suspension, like lowering the front ride height and changing the overall alignment to a track-oriented one.
All right, time to get you behind the wheel, reminisce about some track stuff, and let's get into more driving stuff.
Launch control.
Launch control in race traction.
Okay, basically all wheel slip.
It's a hard car to launch, so we did do some launches while we were at CTMP, and we kind of figured it doesn't hook up as well as the numbers state online.
Yeah, so this is supposed to do 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 3.6 seconds. I don't think we ever got that time because you need a completely race prep surface for that.
I think the traction control just isn't dialed in for launches. It's specifically for fast track driving because the C63S that we also had against this launched way better with a ton less power and skinnier tires.
Yeah, and the C63 is supposed to do 0 to 100 slower than this, but every time in reality was faster than this.
And we tried it in every single mode. We tried it in sport traction, we tried it in race traction, we tried it in no traction. It's just not the car for launches.
So to sum it up, this is definitely a better track car than it is a launching drag car.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what it was designed for, and it makes total sense. And you can't get into launch mode unless you figure out your drive modes and your traction modes. So how does that work?
Okay, so the same mode button controls your drive modes as well as your traction modes, but you have to have the sequence correct after hitting the traction control button twice at the right speed. So the drive modes are actually Tour, Sport, Track, and Snow and Ice. And then if I hit the traction button twice in exactly the right sequence, then I get ESC competitive mode, which then I have Wet, Dry, Sport 1, Sport 2, and Race, and we can obviously turn it fully off as well. I actually found race traction to be one of the best modes. Sport 1 is really good for the road, but will get you sideways, but will also reel you right back in.
And I stayed in Sport 1 on the track, and for a car with this much power on the speeds that you get at CTMP, like, I felt very confident that I could keep pushing and keep pushing.
Yeah, and you can really feel the traction control system doing its job on the racetrack. So you know it's a very safe system and it gives you a lot of confidence to drive really quick because we were basically keeping up with the Z06, probably going about 8/10.
And it doesn't bog down like the Mercedes did at the AMG Performance Tour. Remember we had full traction on?
Yeah, the way the traction control system kicks in is not abrupt. It doesn't just cut the power, it just does the right amount at the right time.
It's very cooperative.
Yes, it feels like you're one with the car.
It does though.
It really does. Like, you point this thing, it goes. The steering is very good. You know exactly what it's gonna do. The smallest movement translates to a real movement of the car, and I love that.
So what do we think about this 10-speed automatic transmission?
So I mentioned that it's totally different than the Corvette Z06 automatic transmission, and this one is way better. GM claims that it shifts as fast as the Porsche PDK. It probably does when you leave it in auto, but it doesn't feel like that when you use the paddles.
And then we noticed while we were on the track shifting, some of the gears don't really feel like full-out gears.
Okay, so since this has 10 gears, a lot of them are very close ratios. So I think 3, 4, 5 are very close together that when you shift, it's only like a 500 RPM difference, and when you're flat out, you're still in red line when you shift into the next gear, which is crazy.
What was that? It was like two gears that were like identical to each other.
And we're running redline off the head-up display, which is controlled with hard buttons on the left, which is so amazing to make it so simple. You've got the red lights that go across. It's pretty easy to read, but yeah, sometimes it just comes at you too quick. But you can also get this vehicle in a manual transmission as well.
6-speed manual, which would be incredible, but probably slower around a racetrack.
But probably a lot more fun. And the reason we didn't get that one is because I guess they only had an automatic lying around. To be honest, it's so hard to get our hands on a manual transmission because a lot of automotive journalists aren't really good at it, so it's hard to have them on the fleets.
Yeah, put everybody on blast, but it is true.
It's true though.
It is.
Like, I want to drive manuals.
Yeah, so do I, obviously.
But I mean, it is fun to experience a really fast auto.
Yes, if you leave it in auto and just floor it, silly fast.
I think this is actually the fastest shifting car from automatic when you floor it. Let me put it into touring, and now floor it.
I don't even know how many gears that went down.
Like this compared to the new Acura NSX that we drove. In automatic, that took like a full second to get into gear before you had full speed. Is it fast?
Yes, really fast.
This has full speed like...
This is lightning for automatic.
Lightning flooring it in comfort mode.
Yes. And now I'm gonna send it into cliche corner. Wow, okay, definitely wants to oversteer, but feels so comfortable. Like, I'm gonna floor it out of here and I know exactly what it's gonna do. It gives me so much confidence, especially because I've already driven this on the track.
Very high predictability factor.
Yes, so now let's talk about that 1LE package because there's a lot of performance in that package. We get Multimatic DSSV dampers, just like you get on the Ford GT, and they are Canadian made, and you also get them on the Chevy Colorado ZR2.
Which we jumped.
Yes, we did. However, I do have to say that this is insanely stiff. If you drive it on regular roads, the damping is amazing. As soon as you get into pothole-ridden Toronto, it is terrible. My back hurts, so don't drive this around terrible roads and you'll be just fine.
I mean, like, you can make do, but it definitely is not as comfortable as like pretty much everything else.
This is the worst car I've driven through Toronto. And we said a lot of already what's included in that 1LE package, basically a bunch of adjustments. So this is 60 pounds lighter than the regular ZL1, and it only costs $8,500, which is actually a performance bargain for the total price of this car.
But if you're a big dude and you spend $8,500 on a gym membership or a personal trainer, I mean, maybe it might even out.
Maybe.
I don't know.
But speaking about money and where you'd put it, this versus a Corvette Z06 C7, maybe even a C8, my money's on this.
This definitely felt less scary and more confidence inspiring.
Yeah, so even though it has the same engine as the Z06 of the previous generation, doesn't have the same transmission, this does feel more confident. It's less scary to drive because it's a little bit heavier than the Z06.
So now let's talk about the interior here, because we really haven't been in a new Camaro.
No, so it is a decent interior, but there's still a lot of plastic around, but there's a lot of Alcantara in this one.
Yeah, I think the amount of Alcantara is perfect for the amount of hard plastic, and the speed of this, man, they could even add more hard plastic and I wouldn't even mind.
Yeah, I mean, if you got it even cheaper and more performance, I'm down.
So we've even got an Alcantara steering wheel. The paddles and everything on the wheel are very nice, and we got a lot of good buttons to control everything there.
And if we look at our gauges, they're analog gauges. I haven't had any problems with them. They're a little bit laggy in the middle, but I really don't care.
Yeah, the digital stuff in the middle is good, and it's nice that you have a lot of performance gauges at the top at all times.
And looking at our infotainment, first thing I notice is the weird angle of it to reduce glare, but it's just a weird angle and everything looks a little different.
And it's the newer style GM infotainment, so you've got rewinding satellite radios, you've got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and this one does have a built-in drive recorder. So when you're on the track, you can throw in an SD card, see all your lap times, live recording, different overlays. It's really good for normal people to use instead of like a Mercedes where you have to connect a crazy app to it.
And it also has a very high res reverse camera as well.
To help for all that no visibility.
Yeah.
Then we've got a ton of hard buttons for all our climate, which is the best. We got those cool vents that you can change the temperature with by turning them.
Oh, just like on the Blazer.
Yeah, pointed right at your knees.
The Camaro of SUVs.
But we did notice while we were on the track, after a couple laps, like the cold air stopped really working for the passenger side at least. Probably on the driver's side as well. You just couldn't notice because you were driving so fast.
Yeah, this has 11 heat exchangers to prevent overheating of all the mechanical stuff. Maybe it redirects some of that air somewhere else.
Yeah, it's fine. Just passenger maybe not as comfortable.
Yeah.
And what do you think of these seats?
The seats are so comfortable. I love everything about these Recaros. There's no adjustable lumbar, but the way the seat is set up, I feel like I don't even need to adjust my lumbar.
Most surprised comfortable seats of the year.
And even on the track, they held us in so well.
Yeah, they were top notch. And then how about room in the back seat? I can just barely fit behind myself and you have no chance of even getting in there.
Absolutely no chance in hell.
No chance. And as a pleasant surprise, we do have some ambient lighting on the side door panels and above the infotainment. For a Camaro, I think it's very good.
And we even have heated and cooled seats, which is the best.
And then how about the visors?
Oh, let's find out.
3, 2, 1.
Yes.
Yes, full pass.
But we already knew that because you guys already watched our C63 vs Camaro video.
So with all of today's driving, all of the track driving at CTMP out of the way, we should probably get to the price.
It's actually not a lot of money. Starts at $70,748
Canadian.
and this one is optioned out to $84,528.
I can't believe how much amazing performance you get for such a low cost compared to everything else out there.
Yeah, you can even delete a couple options here and there, like get rid of the stupid carbon fiber gas cap for like $500 that the dealer installed. You don't need that.
To me, this is probably the car you'd want to have if you want to get heavy into track.
Yeah, and we haven't talked about the obvious rivals, the Mustang GT350 and the GT500, which we've driven recently. I drove the older GT350 a long time ago, so I barely even remember that, but I vividly remember the GT500. That thing was an absolute animal. So is this, but I think this splits the difference between the GT350 and the 500 in terms of horsepower and price.
Yeah, it's hard to compare them both because we haven't had a chance to take the GT500 on the track at CTMP yet. Hopefully soon. But like overall I used to think the M2 competition was the car I recommend to everyone. I feel like this is up there with that, and if I was more track focused, I would take this over that.
Yeah, I totally agree. We love the M2 competition. I will still continue recommending that, but for people that are tired of the M2 competition, they're like, what's next? This is it. This is the car you get next.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
So let us know what you guys think of the Camaro ZL1 1LE.
Were you surprised at how good it was as much as we were surprised? Because to be honest, I had no idea.
And watch our review of the Shelby GT500 right here.
What's better, GT500 or the Camaro ZL1 1LE?
Ooh, I don't know.
Or is it ZL1?
Oh, if you're American, I guess. I'm not American.